in this fight. But your thoughts on where we stand today, you as an American especially?
I'm hearing the volume in and out. I apologize in advance. There's a real sense of jubilation here in the streets of New York, but also a sense of urgency that this fight continues. Of course, we don't think that Donald Trump's going to go down easy. He's committed to a proto-fascist, white supremacist coup d'etat, if you will. This is not something the U.S. ruling class is used to dealing with. This is something that they want to project onto the Middle East or South America so they can justify the umpteenth U.S. invasion of another country. So really for the ruling class, what they want, they don't want a political crisis. They want peace. They want business as usual. Biden is really the ruling class candidate. Trump in many ways is a thorn in their side. But as you can see behind me, really a sense of celebration, also a sense of protesting. I think there's an interesting combination in the crowd at these protests right now of liberals who are in jubilation mode and then conscious labor organizers, the LGBTQ movement, the feminist movement, the socialist movement, the anti-imperialist movement. So really the struggle is just beginning because we know where Biden and Kamala Harris stand in terms of police brutality, in terms of U.S. imperialism.
Right. And Danny, Donald Trump says it's too soon right now for Joe Biden to declare himself winner, to be declared winner. Is there credibility to that in your point of view, or do you feel that he's just being a bad loser, Donald Trump?
Well, we can't put anything past him in terms of his temper tantrums, spoiled billionaire brat who's no one's ever said no to him in his life. But it seems so far that Fox's projections and CNN, the full gamut of ruling class media, was patient in their count, specifically in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia. Some votes will still come in. Of course, Trump already said, he's got the Supreme Court. He's bragging about the 6 justices or injustices on the Supreme Court. We knew Trump was going to use every quote-unquote legal and extra-legal means. He's got militias and wannabe militias in the police themselves across this country, many of whom in the state stand with him. But that's what the ruling class doesn't want to see, fissures in the ruling class project and in the state. They want business as usual. They want a quote-unquote smooth transition. I think there's enough Republicans, the Mitt Romneys, the John Boltons who've come out against Trump. It doesn't seem like Trump has enough muscle right now to do everything he wants to do in the next 2 months before January 20th, the inauguration.
And Colin, I'm going to swing back over to you. Is there still concern that we may witness post-election violence, especially the way Donald Trump's stuck to the certain kind of rhetoric, calling this thing a sham, basically saying that his constituencies, his voting bloc has been robbed and deprived of their constitutional rights and their voices? I mean, if he continues along that road, that kind of rhetoric, and basically at one point even refuses to leave the White House, could we be in for really some kind of unwanted firework display coming out of the states?
Well, that's what a lot of people are hoping does not happen. They're hoping that the civility of a transition is what is the successor to this announcement and this development in U.S. politics. Now, there are some concerns out there from law enforcement that there might be militias out there that are trying to defend what they feel is the president's rightful reinstallation to the White House. But I guess the majority of Americans are hoping that that does not happen. I mean, that's not a usual occurrence when a transition happens, when a new person is elected to the presidency. And so there are a lot of people who are hoping that it's par for the course what has happened in previous years, even when they had controversial people who were elected. Barack Obama was not liked by everyone. I mean, and he definitely set a new milestone as far as the history of the country. And, I just think that if law enforcement is doing their jobs appropriately, they will intervene and intercept any violence that could happen. But of course, we do have the lone wolves out there. We do have isolated incidents of things that can happen. We've seen this with school shootings. We've seen this with random shootings, army base or military base shootings. So there are definitely one-offs here and there, if they could be characterized as one-offs, since it's happened more than once. But I think in a large way, this widespread violence should not happen.
Thank you. And Danny, before we let you go, Danny Shaw out of New York. Danny, what do you expect as a college professor? I don't know what the mood is like in the young over there, the students, your students. Do they feel optimistic toward their future with a Joe Biden? And you personally, what do you feel will change under Joe Biden presidency, and what are you sure will not change?
Yeah, those are actually great questions. I can say my students, well, actually, the vast majority are Latino immigrants. They were very fearful on Tuesday, and on Tuesday evening, they didn't want to go out in their own neighborhoods, even though here in New York City, the vast majority are people of color, oppressed people. So how sad that they would feel fear. Imagine in the climate, in the setting, in the environment of xenophobia and white supremacy in what they call the Midwest and the South. Imagine how fearful people of color are there. I think now those very same students feel an incredible sense of relief and jubilation, even though we know this struggle is going for the long haul. As Colin pointed out, these one-offs, there were these two wannabe fascists who were trying to charge the Philadelphia voting centers, who were driving from Virginia. There's been over 70 attacks against peaceful Black Lives Matter protests. Marchers have been assassinated. In terms of a Biden-Harris presidency, well, I would go back to the Malcolm X metaphor that the wolf you at least can recognize from a distance. You can see Donald Trump and white supremacy from a distance. A lot of people are going to become very comfortable with a Biden-Harris quote-unquote victory. In terms of U.S. imperialism's agenda, it exists independent of who wins, who assumes office on January 20th. And in terms of the vast gas reserves of Russia, the incredible oil wealth of the Middle East, specifically Iran and Asia and South America, the enormous prize that is Brazil, Bolivia, where 25% of the world's water resources are, and of course Venezuela. Oh, Biden is the ruling class candidate. Biden has critiqued Trump's foreign policy from the right and from the center, not from the left. So the struggle is really just intensifying against police brutality, against systematic white supremacy, inequality, and segregation. But today, we don't want to be dismal at anyone's, parade or celebration. So I think out here there's a spirit of jubilation, but a spirit also of protest and remaining vigilant from the jump. But many people are saying that we can push Biden and Harris more to the left. I would say those aren't, there might not be realistic expectations, but one thing can be sure, January 20th, before and after, will be in the streets. The social movements, the popular movements will be in the streets.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want both of you to stay safe till we speak again. I want to thank you both for joining us. Colin Campbell from Washington, D.C., Press TV correspondent and political commentator. Danny Shaw, they're joining us from New York. And viewers, that's a wrap for this extended conversation on post-election events taking place in America. Joe Biden has been declared 46th president of the U.S.